Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Eulogist Reviews, the podcast edition. I am no longer doing YouTube videos. Those take up way too much of my time, so I switched to podcasts. So today I have with me my new co-host. His name is Greggy Greens.
What's going on, TC?
Yeah, what is going on? How's it?
It's the first podcast.
Yeah, first podcast with you.
Yeah, correct. We've been talking about doing this for a long time, probably since like 2014 when we first met.
Yes. So a little bit of background about Greg and I's relationship. So I moved down from Amish country, Pennsylvania in 2014. And I was looking for a band to start. So, I just kind of put the feelers out on the worst website in history, Craigslist.
Actually, the greatest website.
The greatest, but also also just like if you want to, if you either want to get murdered or like something weird done to you, then probably go on Craigslist. Or if you want to find a band, I would definitely suggest going on Craigslist. But anyways, so we met through a Craigslist ad. He responded to it probably the same day that I put it out.
Yeah, at that point, I was pretty much searching the internet for like hours at a time, looking for people to just play music with or do anything with music with, because I wasn't doing anything at that point.
Yeah. So we decided, and I moved down here with my at the time girlfriend, and we decided to meet up at a Dunkin' Donuts. We met up and we had some conversations about the genres that we like to play. And I think at first we had talked about playing pop punk, and then we also talked about post-hardcore.
Yeah, we did post-hardcore for a while. We did some backing tracks for a while.
Yeah, I was into the whole working through Fruity Loops thing and plugging it into the PA, and I thought it was so cool for a while. And we did the post-hardcore for a little bit, and I think at first our name was Decades Apart.
Yeah, it was Decades Apart because you're so much older than me.
Yeah, yes, because I was so much older than Greg. Not a decade, mind you.
Close.
But no, like they're like 4 years. I'm only 4 years older than you. But so we did the post-hardcore thing. That didn't work out. We tried to write some pop punk songs. That didn't work out. And then we started Migrate. So, shameless plug, shameless self-promotion here. Our band is called Migrate.
Check it out.
Yeah, check us out. And anyways, Migrate used to just originally be an acoustic band almost.
Yeah, we played coffee shops and just little open mic nights, and sometimes I would like bring like a whole drum set, and people would look at me like I'm crazy. Like people are just setting up acoustic guitars. Yeah, 2 songs, and I would bring like a whole drum kit just because I was so like hungry to play the drums, because I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, so that was Migrate, and now fast forward almost 5 years later. Good God, we actually have a full band. We've gone through 2.5 bassists, and now we're finally going on tour this summer. So, if you live on the East Coast, check out our Facebook page. All right, but we're not here to mainly talk about Migrate. That was just a little bit of backstory about Greg and I's relationship.
How we met.
Yeah, how we met, how we fell in love, how this bromance started. So today, though, we're gonna do the same thing that I did on the first episode. We're going to talk about some up and coming bands that we really like, that we've agreed upon reviewing. We're gonna give them some ratings. Then we're gonna switch over to some music, some throwback music that we've been listening to that we want to remind you still exists. And then we're going to wrap it up with the segment about what's going on in genre. Last week I did what's going on in current Screamo, where I gave you some, introductory Screamo bands to listen to. I'm going to do the same thing, or we're going to do the same thing this week for pop punk, right? Everyone's, I guess most people's favorite genre if you're an alternative kid right now. I don't know. Seems like kind of the scene has, just kind of broken out with pop punk bands, not so much in Florida, but maybe elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Long Island.
Which brings
segue.
us to our first band from Long Island, which is where I grew up. They're called Makeshift. I saw them a few months ago while they were down here on tour with our friends Chaser, and they are absolutely awesome. We're going to be talking about the song called Horrible off their album Reflection that came out in 2018. And the thing I really like about this is I'm a sucker for production. Like, I really like records that are well polished and sound really good. And, you know, if there is someone producing this song, they really take the time to go after the little things, you know, and tone. If there's any synth in the back, whatever it may be, to bring out the best in each song, and I really feel like this record hits it. So like the record starts out with they call it, I guess, an intro, and it's almost like the first song, Horrible, playing, and it sounds filtered and almost like through old speakers or like off like an old record player, and then, you know, it fades into the main song, which comes in and it drives and it's hard and it's heavy and it's upbeat and it's fast and it just makes you want to move around.
Yeah, so I have to agree with Greg on this one. Greggy, sorry. You know, I really appreciate the production quality on this. You know, when you listen to an unsigned local band, you definitely want to hear something that's well polished, right? Am I wrong in saying that? Like, I mean, personally, I like sometimes, unless it's like a well polished lo-fi song, like I hate listening to something that's super lo-fi. Like, you know, oh, we just didn't put in the money to kind of make our band sound good.
And even if we're not even knocking like home productions, like our first record, we did it at home. Definitely. We love that, but you know. If you're listening to a song and you're like really having to search for parts, you know, like it's frustrating. And this record is really nice and polished and sounds great.
Yeah, you can hear everything crystal clear, like the vocals, the tiniest little guitar lead, you know, a rim shot, like everything. You can hear it. So I really liked about this song because I had not heard of these guys, nor had I listened to them before Greggy told me about them last week, maybe. I really liked how driving this song was. Horrible. I liked how driving it was, yet it was still poppy. Like, it had those poppy and those pop punk aspects, but it was so driving. Without really even like crossing over to that emo boundary that a lot of pop punk bands seem to do nowadays.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, like it was cool to hear a driving pop rock band. Like I probably wouldn't even classify them that much as a pop punk band, as they don't really have the pop aspect, but they sound like just, you know, those pop rock bands you used to hear in like 2010, 2011. Yeah. Like Every Avenue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they sound like that. They can write a really catchy hook. They can write a really catchy chorus. They have two vocalists, which is fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, and that was another thing that I wanted to say. Like, the thing I really appreciated about this song was that there are two vocalists, and they don't take a role as a lead vocalist and a background vocalist. They switch off between the verse and the chorus, and the way they sing the chorus is two different people. It's the same melody and the same hook, but it's different. And he like he digs like in that second chorus, like he digs and he sings like from his gut.
It's so soulful.
It's awesome.
I that's something I really, really like, is how diverse this song. How much variation there is, because, you know, that's why pop artists are so loved, even though people, you know, will say, oh, you know, F pop artists because, you know, there's no soul behind it, blah blah blah. But you know why people like those songs is because there's so much variation. They have the same beat in the background for 3.5 minutes, yet they do so much variation with the vocal patterns that you don't even realize.
It's awesome.
And that's why people like pop so much. And that's why I like this band, even though they change things up with their riffs, right? They do still have like a constant kind of theme going on throughout, and then they change up the vocal styles in every part. It's like, what? There's so much to choose from. It's a whole buffet of pop rock.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So I think we got through most of that. Definitely, if you're a fan of some of Mayday Parade's work, or you're a fan of a less distorted version of 4 Years Strong, you should definitely check this band out.
Yeah, they're awesome. And we actually have a clip of them talking about this song. They're on tour right now. This is them in Chicago, kind of talking about what this song means to them.
Hey, this is Dan from the band Makeshift, and I'm in Chicago right now, so I apologize if this is really noisy. But Horrible is a song about when you're trying to really please a bunch of different people in your life, and when they have set agendas for you, pre-made in their own minds, and you're trying to please everyone while still trying to be happy with yourself and what you're doing. And it's something that a lot of us experienced while we were writing the record. And I think Horrible is really a song that speaks for itself, and it kind of is just about that, about trying to please people, and when you feel like you're trying to do everything you can to make everyone happy and nothing seems to work. And the song kind of speaks for itself in the respect of just, I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do, but it's not working out, and do you think that I'm so horrible? So, yeah. Thanks for featuring us. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys like the song.
So, yeah, that was them talking about what that song means to them, and their thought process when they were writing that song, and what that's about. And they're, again, on tour right now, so check them out if you can. Another song that I just want to do an honorable mention, we're not going to get into it right now just because we don't have time, but I think it's awesome, and I've been jamming it real hard in my car. Inside Your Head off their record Morale. It is so sick. Check it out.
Yes, I also would back that very hard, because even though I just started listening to this band, would very much recommend 10 out of 10, right? So as far as an averaged rating between the two of us, we're going to give this song an 8.7 out of 10.
Yeah, we dig it. It's awesome.
This is a great band.
Do you think that I am so horrible? Do you feel like I am?
So segueing into the next section, the next band that we're going to talk about is one from Minneapolis, Minnesota. These guys are called Driftless. Driftless, it's one word. And we decided to cover their song Departer from an album of theirs from 2017 called Still. So basically, these guys are a super emotional instrumental band. No vocals whatsoever, and I always love when I hear an instrumental band where I don't go, wow, this would sound so much better with a vocalist. Right?
Yeah, I agree. And, sometimes I kind of personally shy away from instrumental for that reason. Mm-hmm. But these guys keep it interesting. Like, these guys are really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and going off of that, I mean, they don't do anything super wild or crazy. Like, they're not like Polyphia, where they're doing these crazy shredding solos every bar. They just know definitely how to use pedals. Like, this is a band that knows how to use their pedals well. They know how to write a song that is going to kind of tug on your heartstrings, I guess. And really, with this song Departer, you have a lot of slow, chill sections, and then you also have that kind of thing that Tides of Man does, where they build up and they swell into this super epic part with a memorable lead. And, it makes it sound like they're in this huge room, and they're right in the center, just playing live, and you're listening to it as if you're sitting at the very top row of the top balcony.
Yeah, I really like the way it was recorded.
Yeah,
I think the song is great. It's hard hitting. It's heavy. It's It's almost like gives me like an old like From Indian Lakes vibe.
Yeah.
But like hard, even like not even different from them. Like hard, just that hard hitting, like slow, emotional, emo, kinda indie. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
No, I definitely think if you're a fan of like newer instrumental Tides of Man, Explosions in the Sky, or like This Will Destroy You, these guys have all of those epic ambient elements that will just kind of, fulfill your need for a band like that. And yeah, I guess like a last note I want to put onto this is that this is such a great band because it doesn't sound like they just wrote this song in parts, right? It doesn't sound like they just went, okay, here's a riff, here's a riff, here's a riff, and none of them kind of connect. This is such a great band because they know how to put sections together.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You need transitions, don't you? Like bands sound horrible when they have no transitions in between their sections.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like a cluster of ideas that just don't really that are just thrown together to complete a song.
Yeah.
And these guys really it's almost like there's no lyrics, but they're still telling a story.
Yeah.
Throughout that
Oh,
whole
definitely.
song. It's amazing.
And I remember we were talking about this song before we started recording, and Greg had said that this would be great for a soundtrack for an indie film, and I totally agree.
Yeah, like a montage in an indie film.
Like a montage, like I could just imagine hearing this song going on in the background. There like some kid is like trying his hardest and he's crying in the rain, or like just some kind of epic part where the main character is getting what they want in life finally, or losing it all. I don't it could go either way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyways, let's take a break and let's listen to a section of this song because I think you're really gonna like it. All right, so yeah, that was a section from their song Departer from Still. And as far as a group rating, we decided to give this an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think the 8.5 is based on?
I don't know. I think that for me, it's just that I love that slow, hard-hitting, like this is just something that I can just chill to and just relax to. And something that I can just have. It's a song that I can always have playing, and I don't think I would ever get sick of that style, like that. Just chill, slow, hard hitting, like relaxing, awesome, interesting song. I don't know. I enjoy it.
I get it. Yeah, no, I feel that too. Definitely one that will kind of soothe your aching heart, if I may. Maybe you've gone through a breakup or you're going through a hard time. Usually when I turn to music like this, it's because I either want to make myself more sad or I want to have some kind of uplifting moment where I come to an epiphany. And this is one of those albums that will do that for you.
Yeah.
For sure.
I can see that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move on to our last local artist, Greggy.
Alrighty, so this next one we're going to talk about, his name is, I believe it's pronounced, I'm sorry if I butcher it, but I believe it's XZYLO.
Xylophone.
We met XZYLO a few months ago when we were recording in Orlando. He helped as one of the assistants in the studio, and he helped on our record. And
yeah, I think his name's awesome. Brandon.
Yeah, he is really cool, and this project is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super diverse. You can be listening to the song we're going to talk about today is awesome. And
what's it called?
It is called Confessions.
Oh yeah,
and
this is a good one.
It is awesome. And then you can hit the next song, and you're like, "Am I even listening to the same artist?" But then his vocals come in, and it's awesome.
Like, yeah, it's almost like you get Confession, which sounds like a mixture of Amorosa and Pierce the Veil and Issues, and then you skip on to the next track, which I forget the name, but then all of a sudden you're getting like, it sounds like Black Bear.
Yeah.
Like you're getting like that R&B trap kind of indie.
It is
all
such a
together.
diverse project. It's awesome.
But I kind of think that's what, like, and I hate to say this, but that's kind of what the kids are liking nowadays.
Travis is getting old.
I know.
Travis is getting old.
I'm almost 29, but like I could
Kids
totally
these
say
days.
that. I could totally say that because I teach 13-year-olds. So, you know, like basing my knowledge of today's music scene off of that, they seem to like this kind of trap hip hop mixed with emo and rock elements. And I think someone like XZYLO is definitely good for bridging that gap and being able to have a larger audience based on what he's doing. Because he's going to appeal to people in their mid to late 20s and early 30s, and even appeal to teenagers, I think. He's going to have a very large audience if he can spread this music well enough, right? So, yeah, what else did you like about this? I mean, this song is super diverse. You know, like I said, it sounds like Amorosa, Pierce the Veil, Issues, all of those scene staples.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really.
It's really cool. There's like super funky, heavy bass lines, and he has that like soulful like what's the singer of Amorosa?
Bradley Beal,
yeah,
Bradley Bell.
I forget his name, but
think.
he like that soulful like just right.
He does
in the gut,
he does
like,
all those
vocals,
vocal
like,
he does all those vocal trills.
Yeah.
Like Bradley does. And even Johnny Craig a little bit. Not quite as high pitched as Johnny Craig, but like definitely has those perfect vocal melodies. Even what's his name? Sam Oliveira is kind of the he's a person that's featured on, and they both have these super soulful vocal styles that when combined, this is just like a powerhouse song. It is seriously such a jam.
Seriously, there were like so many times where I was just sitting back with like the stankiest face.
Yeah,
just those
stankiest.
bass lines just it's
Like,
so good.
You know that stank face that usually you would give when you hear like this dirty breakdown.
Yep, it left me like that.
But
for
you're
like
not
minutes.
listening to a breakdown. You're listening to this there's almost like a Latin flair to the song as well, because you got like the egg shaker going on and the bongos, and it's just like, where did this come from? This is genius. But yeah, you know what? Let's take a break. Let's take a listen to this, and you can just kind of soak in what we're talking about.
Enjoy.
What do you want from me? Hey! You never speak when you talk to me. Hey! What did you want to see? Hey! I'm only showing you how your game's effect.
My first album is going to be another Dance Gavin Dance album. Surprise, surprise, I really like Dance Gavin Dance. It's getting on the unhealthy side. But yeah, I think my all-time favorite Dance Gavin Dance album was 2016's Mothership. This is where Dance Gavin Dance finally took a turn for something. I mean, they've always been post-hardcore, but they got to Mothership and Tillian just, decided to start shredding his vocals, and there was a lot more dynamic stuff going on, a lot more catchy choruses. And for once, I felt like Dance Gavin Dance wasn't being super corny or cliche as far as a Dance Gavin Dance album would go. And I've been listening to this a lot more because this is definitely a staple for anyone that likes post-hardcore and likes experimental music.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I actually did it a little differently. Sorry, Trav. But I actually just put down some throwback songs I've been listening to.
Oh, word? That's fine.
Because my playlist that I jam in my car, I kind of just go and I download albums for sure, but I just hit shuffle and I listen to everything. That's just what I do. So
it's okay to be wrong.
Oh, yeah. You've been wrong before. No,
it's okay to be wrong.
No, it's okay. I quit.
Oh, okay. All right, I guess it's just me again. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 2/2.5.
So, the first throwback that I want to talk about is the song "Son of a Gun" by Search the City.
Oh, hell yeah.
It is so
Ooh,
cool.
I cursed. Whoops.
Oh, you're in trouble.
Ooh.
So this is a song that I found out about like years ago. I think I saw someone do a drum cover of it when I was like really young, and then I just was like, wow, that song is really cool. And then I learned it on drums, and it's just a song that I've been playing and listening to like for years.
What year is that from? From like, was that like mid 2000s?
No idea, to be honest.
I feel like it was mid 2000s stuff. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Because I remember Search the City, and I was so into the only album that they put out.
Yeah, and now sorry to get off topic, but the singer of Search the City is actually running, I believe, a studio or like a vintage or audio shop or something.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's still kicking.
Yeah, I do love that album, especially because that was like a whole new definition of pop punk for me. Because I remember that was one of the first pop punk albums that I heard that had like, I want to call them like artsy breakdowns, because it wasn't like a chug 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 chug. It was like they did these like open chorded breakdowns with really neat leads over them, and the guy wasn't screaming, he was just singing his heart out.
Yeah,
and I was like, this is
voice.
A whole new genre or subgenre of pop punk, and I love it.
And also, this is the first pop punk song that I heard that had like a synth. I think there's he plays some key chord in the beginning.
Some keys.
Yeah.
There's some keys thrown in, and that's not something that pop punk bands did before then either. All right, so for my second album, throwback albums.
Sorry.
Greg messed up the whole dynamic. It's okay. He's getting kicked off anyways. Next episode, don't tell him. He's sitting right next to me.
He just told me.
All right, so the second album that I've been listening to a lot, this is from 2005. This is probably in my top 5 albums of all time, is Son, I Loved You at Your Darkest by As Cities Burn. Which, I mean, I didn't even know, at the time I had no clue that this was a Christian band. But then I found out, and it didn't really matter to me. I like the lyrical content. I like everything about this album too, because for me, this is another album that changed the game, right? Because I don't think before or after this album, I seriously never heard another album that sounded like this. It had, except for maybe Birth Eater by Oceana. I'd never heard another album like this. And this is kind of where I get a lot of my inspiration for my leads from, especially when I'm fooling around doing my own kind of heavy stuff. Because this wasn't exactly screamo. Oops, excuse me. This wasn't exactly screamo, and this wasn't exactly post-hardcore. It was like this meshing in between, right? And there were such dark tones, and there were these awesome shredded screams and these indie style vocals from the guitarist. And it was just so great to me. All the hammer-ons and pull-offs and the super ambient elements. And then also some weird time signatures thrown in every so often. You didn't just get like a chuggy breakdown. Again, you got these breakdowns that were like open chords, and they were played like they were breakdowns, and the drummer would just like make them sound heavier than they were, right? So that's definitely an album that if you haven't checked out or haven't checked out in a while, you should probably listen to that again. Greggy?
So another song.
Boo.
Not album.
Who listens to songs?
Song that I've been listening to hardcore lately is Island by The Starting Line.
Hell, I cursed again. Hell yeah, I said it. Hell
he said it. He's going for it.
That is such a good throwback.
It is so good. So the reason I've been listening to it lately is because I was scrolling on Facebook and I saw Young and Inspired shared them playing it live at Warped Tour, and I think it was like 2007 or something, and they kill it. They're so good live. They're a band for me that every time I see them play live, like it like
Thinking that
makes
vocal
the hair
melody right now.
it just makes the hair stand up on my neck.
Hold of me, don't let go if you float away, if you float away.
So good. And I also really like that in like the bridge of that song. They give that like Caribbean bongo vibes.
I
like
know.
The first time I heard that, I was like, okay, I'm about it. Man. So good.
Also, if you liked Starting Line at any point in their career, you should also listen to the vocalist one side project that he did at the same time as the Starting Line called Personnel.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, they released 2 albums that were really it was like it's like experimental pop rock.
I'm definitely going to check that out.
You need to check it out. It's spelled like not like personnel. It's spelled like the word person space the letter L.
Definitely going to check it out.
All right, so the last album then that I've been listening to a lot lately is called Built by Blood by Bleed the Dream. Lots of good alliteration in that one. Built by Blood by Bleed the Dream. Say that 10 times fast, Greg.
I can't say it one time fast.
Oh, good. All right, so we all saved ourselves some some years from not listening to that. But yeah, this band, I don't know if you remember Bleed the Dream, Greg. Did you ever listen to Bleed the Dream?
No, I have no idea who they are.
So they were kind of my second introduction into kind of like the punkier side of post-hardcore. Because you had your post-hardcore that I was used to, post-hardcore screamo, like Under Oath. Like Under Oath's first album, first commercially successful album. They're Only Chasing Safety. There was that side of post-hardcore and screamo, but then there was also a punkier side of screamo, and that was Bleed the Dream. And they definitely had that 2005, 2006 kind of lo-fi screamo sound. But they also had a lot of elements that almost made them sound like it was almost like if you took the punkiest version of Green Day and you mix that with screamo.
Ooh, that
you know what
cool.
I mean? Like that's how I would explain it, and that was that whole album to me. They had super emo choruses, but then they also had some really like punky, driving hard 2-step riffs thrown in. So yeah, so if you haven't listened to them in a while, make sure to check out Bleed the Dream.
All right, and the last song. Actually, well, I'm gonna just go with era.
Whoa.
For this one. I'm gonna go with Old Paramore. Just like their old hard hitting, like
that was a bop.
For a Pessimist and like Brick by Boring Brick, like those.
Their 2009 album. Are you talking about
Riot? And there's
Riot
and Careful, I believe the record is.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
There was Riot. What was the album after that? The album from 2009 with the butterfly on the front of it?
I believe that's Careful.
I know Careful's on that, but I don't think it's called Careful. We probably should have done our research on this one.
Let's see.
Yeah. Greg's currently... Stick with us, folks. Greg is currently looking up what that album by Paramore is called. I'm sure you already know. I know Brick by Boring Brick is on it.
It's called Brand New Eyes.
Brand New Eyes. That was it. Yep. Should have known that. Should have done our research.
You are correct. Well, it's just like I said, I was doing songs that I
gotcha.
Throwback.
So but
there's my excuse. What's yours, Trev?
But albums are better. Okay. Hear me out. Here's why. Here's why.
I agree with you.
Here's why. Because they are.
Okay.
All right.
Well, since I gotta be honest, I was pretty stubborn at first, but once you threw that out there, there's nothing I can say to even argue that.
I mean, that is airtight logic, right?
You are
there.
Absolutely correct.
Right.
I can't even argue.
I would win that case.
But anyway, I don't know. Like Zach Farrow is one of my favorite drummers.
Yep.
He's so hard hitting. He's probably like one of my biggest inspirations as a drummer. Oh my God, he's so interesting.
He's so dynamic. He can go from that dude could play metal if he wanted to, but he can also play like the softest, tightest pop beats.
Yeah. And actually, he left the band for a while, and
Aaron that experimental thing.
Yep, and Aaron Gillespie came in. He played drums for them for a while.
That's right.
And now that they're doing, Paramore's into that more like 80s pop style, and that's what Zach's other band, once he left Paramore, that's the style that he joined. Now that fits him again, he has now joined the band back. So I'm kind of, not that I'm not trashing New Paramore. I love New Paramore.
It's great.
It's awesome. And I'm so stoked that he's back in the band because he's my favorite.
They pretty much have that original lineup, I think, except for maybe the bassist.
And I believe two of the members are gone.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 3 now.
I know the main guitarist was writing. That's the brother of Zach Farrow, isn't it? Isn't the guitarist and the drummer brothers?
Yes, but I believe the guitarist, I think they both left at one point, and then just the drummer came back, I believe.
Yes.
But they're so awesome, and
I think every era of Paramore is fantastic.
Yes,
honestly.
and can you imagine having a stage that big and like running around and still sing? Like, I don't know how they pull off the show that they put on. Like,
they've been doing it for so long.
I remember they used to like. The guitarist used to bend over while he was playing, and the bassist would run across the stage and roll over his
Fall
back.
Out Boy used to do that too.
And like they wouldn't miss a beat. Like they put on such a cool show, and they're so tight live. And Paramore forever.
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 What was their first album called? All We Know Is Falling, right? And then it was Riot, and then it was Brand New Eyes, and then they did a bunch of singles. And didn't really have an album out until that self-titled one, I think, because there was an era of Paramore before the synth, like the '80s synth pop, where they started doing the poppy stuff, but it wasn't '80s inspired yet. That I think, honestly, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I think that's my favorite era of Paramore.
Really?
Because that album before they went into the '80s pop thing, I think that was the most unique version of Paramore in their entire history as a band.
Well, I'll definitely agree with that.
Like, what other band sounded like that? Like, at that point in time?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yep.
And I, like, still couldn't tell you, like, another album that sounds exactly like that Paramore album. And for that, I super appreciate them.
And I'm just going to say this. Hayley Williams could take a microphone and just scream gibberish for 4 hours, and I think I would still listen to it and love it.
I'd listen to it.
Anything she touches is fantastic.
It's gold.
It's awesome. Huge fan.
All right, so now it is finally time for drum roll, Greg.
I can't do a drum roll.
All right, yeah, that's not gonna work. No. It's time for our last segment of the podcast called "What's Going On in." Insert genre here.
That's actually what it's called.
That's what it's called. That's the whole title. And this week we are talking about what's going on in current pop punk, the current age of pop punk, which is, by definition, pop mixed with
punk.
Yep, got it. Pretty simple.
10 points.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just gonna talk about a bunch of bands that we think are killing it in the game right now. And we're also going to talk about what we think about the current age of pop punk. Is it dying out? Is it becoming less of a trendy thing than it used to be a couple of years ago? You'll find out. All right. So the first band we want to talk about is actually one from Orlando that is absolutely murdering the game.
Orlando, as they say.
Yeah, Orlando.
I don't know who says
Orlando.
I don't know who says that, but they say it.
They say it. So yeah, I think all of them, fun fact, I think most of the members of this band went to UCF, and graduated from there and are now very successful touring musicians. They're signed by Fearless now, I think. Yeah, pretty sure. And they're doing very well, it seems like. But let's take a listen to one of their newest songs.
This condition persists. I feel the weight of the top from the top of my skull. From the back of my spine, it never ceases to remind.
All right, so that was Capstan. I forgot to say their name earlier. And the album that they've been touring on, I believe, is one from 2018 called In the Wake of Our Discord. That was the album they put out right before they got signed by Fearless. Before that, they had multiple albums that were all fantastic, especially the one I like the most. I don't know about you, Greg, but the one I like the most is called Cultural Divide, and that's from 2016.
Yeah, that's the one that I first had heard from them, and they played Warped Tour this summer, and when I saw them live, they played a few songs off that record. I was a happy man.
Oh yeah, and even before that, I think they had an album called Seasonal Depression. But Cultural Divide is the album that really got me into them. I liked In the Wake of Our Discord. I did not like it as much as Cultural Divide because I felt like, and this is why they're part of this list, but In the Wake of Our Discord is a lot more pop punk, whereas Cultural Divide is like a mixture between, I think I said this at one point to you, it's a mixture between like Counterparts and The Story So Far.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what they sound like.
But then there's also parts of that record that are super like soft and slow.
Mm-hmm.
And the dynamics that they put in, like, for example, the song Wax Poetic.
Yeah.
It goes from, like, almost like acoustic vibes to, like, screaming.
The super epic.
Yeah.
Like, and the vocals are so cool because they have, like, these really epic vocal styles, but then they have the lead vocalist kind of throws in some yells.
Yeah.
A lot.
And also, there is also an acoustic song that they have where
they put out 2 acoustic songs.
But he yells over the acoustic and it sounds fire. It is so cool.
Fuego.
Absolute fuego.
Fueguissimo. I don't know. But yeah, so we definitely had to mention this band because they're killing it. Like,
absolutely.
As far as, they had a dream, and we saw this play out in real time because they're from Orlando, so we always saw what was going on with them. And our friends, a lot of our friends are friends with the guys in that band. They set a goal for themselves, and you could tell, and they accomplished one thing, and then they got the next thing done, and the next thing, and the next thing, and it's so great to see a band from your local scene just kind of break through that glass ceiling.
Absolutely, they're killing it.
You know what I mean? And also, they're also not just a simple pop punk band, and that's why I think it was important to add them to this list because right now we're not just talking about like
cookie cutter
Blink-182 kind of pop punk songs. We're talking about bands that are like taking a step outside of the boundary.
Absolutely.
You know.
All right. So the next band we want to talk about is a band from Los Angeles. They're called Point North. They're so sick.
So sick.
So I found out about these guys because I actually met their drummer on Instagram. What's up, Sage? And he is absolutely slaying it right now. He's playing drums for Andy Black right now. Go check him out. Go check Point North out. They are so awesome. And they just released a record a few months ago. They toured with As It Is, and Sharp Tooth was on that tour. There was a bunch of really sick bands. And
is that the tour with Grayscale?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, these guys are so cool. This last EP they just released, I believe it's an EP.
Retrograde?
Yeah,
I think it's called
Retrograde.
It just came out not too long ago.
It is so unique.
It is.
It's like
we talk about this album all
poppy,
the time.
but also like hardcore pop punk.
And then he like kind of almost raps.
Yeah.
A little bit on certain verses.
Yeah,
which is super interesting.
And they also have, I believe they have a Punk Goes Pop style cover of a song Hammer, which is how they kind of got their ball rolling.
Yeah, yes. They did a cover of that Nothing Nowhere song, Hammer. And that kind of like sent them into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
After that came out, because I noticed that got so many plays on it. Yeah. But this, again, really interesting band. They combine elements of, pop punk, Like I said, they have some almost trap-like beats going on at some points where it's like a little bit electronic, and he even almost does these. I don't know. It's almost like he's rapping, but not really. And it's not corny at all, which is what I like. It's like a lot of bands will do that, like try to rap or something, and it's like, wow, this is super corny. Why did you do that?
Absolutely.
Somehow this fits on it. I don't.
And another thing that I really appreciate about them is a lot of times when people add those 808 drops and the synths in the background, they play simpler parts so that it doesn't clash. But these guys found a way to, like, especially Sage, like he'll play super complicated like linear beats that'll somehow fit with the trap beat that's going on.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
They're awesome. They're so cool.
Super cool band. Please check out their newest album, Retrograde. And let's take a listen to one of our favorite songs.
And now I know you're never coming home, coming home. So there's nothing left to talk about. It's quiet now. Now you heard me just to fuck me up while I fuck around. Hope you're thinking of me while you're running away. Ooh, that's one thing to miss.
All right, so the next band I'd like to introduce is one from around us in Miami called Never Loved. And Greggy actually showed these guys to me the other night. And I decided, we should talk about them because they're kind of pop punky. They're doing really well. They just got signed, or not just. I don't know when they got signed.
I'm not sure. I think a few months ago, actually.
Yeah, well, okay. So they just got signed to Equal Vision, which is, I would consider that, quote-unquote, killing it. As far as, like, a DIY alternative pop-punk band goes. And, yeah, these guys are a little bit more on the alternative side. They sound like bands like Roswell Kid and Weezer and Save Face and stuff like that. So let's take a listen.
So I really like these guys because it's like kind of that like chill Cage the Elephant like.
That's a good comparison. That's who I was trying to think of. Cage the Elephant.
Like that almost filtered vocal. I don't know. I really like these guys. The big tom beats. I vibe to these guys a lot.
Yeah, and again, they're not doing anything spectacularly complex.
No.
But they're just writing really catchy songs with almost a slight electronic element to it.
Yeah. And even while keeping it super simplistic, like it's still so full. It still sounds
super full. The vocals. The vocals are cool. He almost like stretches his voice out so much that it ends in a scream. Like a lot of these things, you're gonna listen to it and there's gonna be like a harsh scream from the main vocalist, and it's gonna be a little bit off-putting, but it goes really well with the song in general, I think.
So yeah, definitely check these guys out. All right. And this last band we want to talk about is called Eat Your Heart Out. They are from, I believe, Australia. They are signed to Fearless Records, and they have a new album called Fluorescence, coming out May 17th. And I had not heard of these guys until Travis McCoy told me to check them out.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for the recommendation.
Of course, because, we all know that it is pure fact that all Australian bands are just godlike. They're all amazing. I mean, just listing the ones off the top of my head, Hands Like Houses, Tonight Alive, Closure in Moscow, Parkway Drive, a great throwback. All great Australian bands. This one can now be added to the list of great Australian bands, I think.
There's actually a scientific study that if you're listening to a band and you really like it, there's a 95% chance that band is either from Australia or Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
That's so true. Yes, scientific facts. This is proven. If you're listening to a band and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I wonder where they're from, there is a 50-50 chance that band is either from the state of Pennsylvania or the country of Australia.
It's proven. It's proven.
It's just proven. Like, I mean, but yeah, so what we thought about their latest track, I know they just put out another single from their new album that's coming out called Spinning. But the one that I showed to Greggy was a song called Carousel, which is the newest thing that they've put out in about 2 years. And honestly, I had heard of this band when they first got signed, and I thought it was okay. It was fine. But then I heard Carousel, and I was just blown away. I mean, what did you think, Greg?
Yeah, I agree. They kind of sound to me like a mixture of like Versa Emerge and Paramore.
Definitely.
They're really cool.
And even Tonight Alive. They kind of sound like Tonight Alive.
Yeah, for sure. And also, another thing that I really appreciate was I really dig the artwork. I really dig the artwork they use for that song. I don't know if it was a single or a record, but yeah.
I think that's a single, but I think that's going to be on Fluorescence. Yeah. I think just the ticket on the floor. It's just so simple, but it works so well.
But it's
and the music video too. I don't know if you watched the music video. That
simple style artwork that I don't know. For me, I really like that.
Yeah, I love that too. But yeah, this song is very. It's not just a regular pop punk song. So like I said, that's the theme of this. Is we're looking for bands that aren't just regular pop punk. They're ones that are kind of pushing the boundaries. These guys are almost very loud and driving, like the Almost a little bit, very loud and driving, like Hands Like Houses, but they put their own flair on traditional pop punk. They have this very, very alternative sound where the guitar tones are kind of, they have like the perfect amount of reverb. The vocals, the melodies, you can just latch on to those so easily. And that's what makes this a great song. The chorus, you'll never forget this chorus. It's so simple, but it's so memorable and so heavy hitting over top of the guitars that this is just a song that's going to be stuck in your head for days, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing it to me.
Yeah, of course.
Just like a carousel, full of thoughts that make me doubt myself, threw all my senses to.
So yeah, that's kind of pop punk nowadays, I think. And I think if we could answer the burning question, like what's going on with pop punk? Like what do you think of pop punk right now, as opposed to, I mean, I know we had like a little bit of a resurgence of pop punk. I would say like in 2014.
Yeah.
Like with bands like The Story So Far. That was like 2009 though, where they kind of brought back that indie pop punk. That was kind of new to me.
Like Knuckle Puck.
Knuckle Puck, that's it. Yeah, that in 2014, like that was like the year of Knuckle
Real
Puck.
Friends,
I
swear. Yeah, those bands were killing, and they still are.
They're still killing it. You don't hear as much from them.
Yeah,
I know Knuckle Puck put out an album through Rise Records not too long ago, and that was all right to me. I mean, it's classic Knuckle Puck. I mean, they have like the kind of yelled classic pop punk vocals over kind of major key guitar riffs,
Absolutely. And it really bothers me when I hear like that pop punk is dying, because
I don't think it's dying.
So many bands, like every band that we've hit today are bands that hopefully most people that are listening don't know about and can go check out now. And they're there. You just gotta find them.
You gotta find them. I mean, use Spotify. Seriously, that's how I find
all
of my bands.
Playlists are huge.
Spotify playlists, like listen to music, please. Like if you can do anything, like support musicians. Like
seriously,
they're creating the soundtracks for your lives.
If you're digging
on a daily basis,
share it.
Yeah, share it. That's all you have to do. You don't even have to buy it. Just share music that you like online, and you're going to show someone their new favorite band.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's kind of the goal for us. What we're doing is we want to show you new music. We want to show you people that are, breaking through and killing it in general, for a lack of better term. But yeah, I think for me, as far as the current state of pop punk, I mean, I think there's only going up from here, because I think, again, people say that like, oh, pop punk's dying out. I don't think it's dying out. I think your perception of what pop punk is or was is dying out. And I think all of these musicians are coming in and they are finding ways, like Point North and Capstan, like they're finding ways to blend these genres and not just being like, okay, we're going to play 4 chords the entire time, because that was old pop punk.
Yep.
Just like how trap has overtaken hip hop, right? And people hated it. The same thing is happening now. Like, we had pop punk where it was Blink-182 and they're playing, super simple stuff with like, corny, crazy, funny lyrics. And now we have people that, there was a resurgence for a little bit where it was kind of like, okay, this is the new style. But now we have so many different subgenres of pop punk coming out that I think there is no one way to go about doing that genre.
I agree completely. And it's really cool because now, like, you can go to a local pop punk show and see a bunch of pop punk and emo bands and
all playing together,
indie bands that are all playing together, but still somehow fit and make sense. That
exactly,
it's cool. It's a cool experience, especially down here in South Florida. Like, we experience that all the time
because we have so many genres down here. Like, if you were to be in the scene in anywhere between 2009 and 2012 in Pennsylvania, you would have just been going out to see metalcore bands. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain places where like that is the scene and we don't have any other kind of genres to offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like down here in South Florida, like it's great because, one night you could get a band with emo, indie, pop punk, folk, and I don't know, post-hardcore, right, in one lineup.
Yeah.
And that's just because like there's so many different genres of bands. And everyone's kind of like blending genres together now that like it's really interesting to be in the scene at this point in time, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely, I definitely go out and every show I go to, I see a band that I didn't expect to see.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Exactly. All right. So I think this is a good cutoff point. So we're going to sign off of the second episode ever of Eulogist Reviews podcast. I am TC Wills.
And I'm Greggy Greens.
Yes, and we will be back next week with another fresh episode where we're going to be talking about bands that hopefully you find interesting and want to start listening to and supporting. And we're also, again, going to take another look at a different genre and see how it's doing and talk about all of the bands that are doing well in that genre for themselves. So, see you next week.
Thanks for listening.